Chapter 5. The path up the side of the bluffs had always been steep, but I climbed it about a gazillion times, with and without my grandma, and I've never felt like this before. I wasn't just the coughing anymore, and it wasn't just the sore muscles. I was dizzy, and my stomach started to gurgle so badly that I was reminding myself of Meg Ryan in the movie French Kiss, after she ate all the cheese and had lactose intolerance fit. Kevin Kline is really cute in that movie. Well, for an old guy. And I was snotting. I don't mean like sniffling a little. I mean like wiping my nose and my sleeve of my hoodie. Gross. I couldn't breathe without opening my mouth, which made me cough more, and I couldn't believe how badly my chest hurt. I tried to remember what it was that officially killed the kids who didn't complete the change into vampires. Did they have heart attacks? Or was it possible that they coughed and snotted themselves to death? Stop thinking about it. I need to find Grandma Redbird. If Grandma didn't have the answers, she'd figure them out. Grandma Redbird understood people. She said it was because she hadn't lost touch with her Cherokee heritage and the tribal knowledge of the ancestors, wise women she carried in her blood. Even now it made me smile to think about the frown that came from Grandma's face whenever the subject of the step loser came up. She's the only Delt I know who knows I call him that. Grandma Redbird said that it was obvious that the Redbird wise women blood had skipped over her daughter, but that was only because it had been saving up to give me an extra dose to an ancient Cherokee magic to me. As a little girl, I climbed this path holding Grandma's hand more times than I could count. In the meadow of the tall grasses and wild flowers, we'd lay out a brightly colored blanket and eat a picnic lunch while Grandma told me stories of the Cherokee people and taught me mysterious-sounding words of their language. As I struggled up the winding path, those ancient stories seemed to swirl around and around inside my head, like the smoke of a ceremonial fire, including the sad story of how the stars were formed when a dog was discovered stealing cornmeal and the tribe whipped him. As the dog ran howling to his home in the north, the meal scattered across the sky, and the magic in it made the Milky Way. Or how the great buzzard made the mountains and the valleys with his wings. And my favorite, the story about the young woman's son who lived in the east, and her brother the moon who lived in the west, and the redbird who was the daughter of the sun. Isn't that weird? I'm a redbird and the daughter of the sun. But I'm turning into a monster of the night. I heard myself talking out loud, and was surprised that my voice sounded so weak, especially when my words seemed to echo around me, as if I were talking into a vibrating drum. Drum. Thinking of the word reminded me of the powwows Grandma had taken me to when I was a little girl. And then, my thoughts somehow breathing life into the memory, I actually heard the rhythmic beating of the ceremonial drums. I looked around and squinted against even the weak light of the dying day. My eyes stung and my vision was all screwed up. There was no wind, but the shadows of the rocks and trees seemed to move, stretching, reaching out towards me. "Grandma, I'm scared," I cried in between racking coughs. The spirits of the land are nothing to be frightened of, Zoe Bird. "Grandma?" Did I hear her voice calling me by my nickname, or was it more weirdness and echoes, this time coming from my memory? "Grandma!" I called again, and then stood still listening for an answer. Nothing. Nothing except the wind. Unola, the Cherokee word for wind drifted through my mind like a half-forgotten dream. Wind? No, wait! There hadn't been any wind just a second ago. But now, as I hold onto my hat with one hand and brush away the hair that was whipping across my face with the other, then in the wind I heard them, the sounds of many Cherokee voices chanting in time with the beat of the ceremonial drums. Through a veil of hair and tears I saw smoke. The nutty sweet scent of pinyon wood filled my open mouth, and I tasted the campfires of my ancestors. I gasped, fighting to catch my breath. That's when I felt them. They were all around me, almost visible shapes shimmering like heat waves lifting from a blacktop road in summer. I could feel them press against me as they twirled and moved with graceful, intricate steps around and around the shadowy image of a Cherokee campfire. Join us, Uitsiagia. Join us, daughter. Cherokee ghosts, drowning in my own lungs, the fight with my parents, my old life gone. It was all too much. I ran. I guess what they teach us in biology about adrenaline taking over during the whole fight or flight thing is true, because even though my chest felt like it was going to explode and it seemed as if I was trying to breathe underwater, I ran up the last and steepest part of the trail, like they'd open up all the stores at the mall, like they'd opened up all the stores at the mall, and they were giving away free shoes. Gasping for breath, I stumbled up the path, higher and higher, fighting to get away from the frightening spirits that hovered around me like fog. But instead of leaving them behind, it seemed I was running further into their world of smoke and shadows. Was I dying? Was this what happens? Was that why I could see ghosts? Where's the white light? Completely panicked, I rushed forward, throwing my arms out widely as if I could hold off the terror that was chasing me. I didn't see the root that broke through the hard ground of the path. Completely disoriented, I tried to catch myself, but all of my reflexes were off. I fell hard. The pain in my head was sharp, but it lasted only an instant before blackness swallowed me. Waking up was weird. I expected my body to hurt, especially my head and my chest, but instead of pain, I felt fine. Actually, I felt better than fine. I wasn't coughing. My legs and arms were amazingly light, tingly and warm, like I'd just slipped into a bubbly hot bath on a cold night. Huh? Surprise made me open my eyes. I was staring up at a light which miraculously didn't hurt my eyes. Instead of the glaring light of the sun, this was more like the soft rain of candlelight filtering down from above. I sat up and realized I was wrong. The light wasn't coming down. I was moving towards it. I'm going to heaven. Wow, that'll shock some people. I glanced down to see my body, or it, or whatever, was lying scarcely close to the edge of the bluff. My body was very still. My forehead had been cut and was bleeding badly. The blood dripped steadily into a gash in the rocky ground, making a trail of red tears that fell into the heart of the bluff. It was incredibly weird to look down at myself. I wasn't scared, but I should be. Shouldn't I? Didn't this mean I was dead? Maybe I'd be able to see the Cherokee ghost now. Even that thought didn't scare me. Actually, instead of being afraid of it, it was more like I was an observer, as if none of this could really touch me. Kind of like those girls who have sex with everyone and think they're not going to get pregnant or a really, really nasty STD that eats your brain out and stuff. Well, we'll see in 10 years, won't we? I enjoyed the way the world looked sparkling and new, but it was my body that kept drawing my attention. I floated closer to it. I was breathing in short, shallow pants. Well, my body was breathing like that, not that I was me. Talk about confusing pronoun usage. And I/she didn't look good. I/she was all pale and her lips were blue. Hey, white face, blue lips, red blood? And am I patriotic or what? I laughed, and it was amazing. I swear I could see my laughter floating around me like puffy things you blow up off a dandelion. Only instead of being white, it was birthday cake frosting blue. Wow, who knew hitting my head and passing out would be such fun? Who knew I wondered if this was what it was like to be high. The dandelion icing laughter faded, and I could hear the shining crystal sound of running water. I moved closer to my body, able to see that what I had at first thought was a gash in the ground was a narrow crevice. The living water sound was coming from deep inside. Curious, I peered down, and the sparkling silver outline of words drifted from within the rock. I strained to hear, and was rewarded by a faint whispering of silver sound. Zoe Redbird, come to me. Grandma! I yelled into the slash in the rock. My words were bright purple, and they filled the air around me. "Is that you, Grandma? Come to me." The silver mixed with purple of my visible voice, turning the words the glistening color of lavender blossoms. It was an omen, a sign. Somehow, like the spirit guides Cherokee people have believed in for centuries, Grandma Redbird was telling me that I had to go down into the rock. Without any more hesitation, I flung my spirit forward and down into the crevice, following the trail of my blood and the silver memory of my grandma's whisper until I came to the smooth floor of a cave-like room. In the middle of the room was a small stream of water. It bubbled, giving off tinkling shards of visible sound, bright and glass-colored. Mixed with the scarlet drops of my blood, it lit up the cave with a flickering light that was the color of dried leaves. I wanted to sit next to the bubbling water and let my fingers touch the air around it and play in the texture of its music, but the voice called to me again.